see the sunrise creeping in. Everything changes like the desert wind.
Hi, I'm Megan Cusick, and welcome to another episode of Vehicle Care Rockstars. We often talk about the technician shortage on this show, but we must also acknowledge the teacher shortage. There's a common saying among educators: I'm not in it for the money. In a line of work that's often underpaid, it's true that most instructors are in it for the students and the love of teaching. And while it wasn't very lucrative to be an automotive technician in the recent past, times have changed, and so it takes an even greater sense of devotion to work in the classroom rather than a shop. But Jack Stow, automotive technology instructor at North Kansas City Schools in Missouri, takes that devotion even further because the way he sees it, education isn't keeping pace with the industry, and he means to change that. All right, Jack, how would you sum up the current state of automotive education in one sentence?
I think there's multiple categories when you say automotive education. There's the side where I'm at with high school, college, working with students wanting to get into the industry. But there's also the side of professional training and those folks that are in industry that need training. And everything on both sides of that, I think, has fallen behind a bit. Your best training is still coming, I believe, for those manufacturer training folks, dealer. They get excellent training ongoing all the time. The independent shops, I think they find it harder to find that quality training, like the ADAS. I bring that up just because it's always such a topic of the equipment that you need. What equipment do you need, and how are you going to get trained on the things that are coming out for all this lane change, safety, liability? At the high school, college level, we haven't even dipped our toes into that yet. I'm sure some facilities might own equipment and things, but that side of things is so far behind. So, and I think that goes with a lot of the systems on cars, some of the things that are coming out for diagnosis. It's just changing so fast. I don't think the education side's able to keep up, because just like with computers, by the time it gets out to the public on an education level, it's outdated. So I don't know the fix, that's what I think is going on.
Outdated curriculums aren't the only problem. An outsider might look at the situation and say, well, that's easy. Hire younger instructors who know the new tech. Unfortunately, the pay gap between teaching and being a technician has increased substantially in recent years, and not in teaching's favor.
The industry is amazing how quick it's changing, how safe it's becoming, and so on. But the teaching side it's not able to keep up with those changes. And I'm getting older, and it's hard for me personally to stay on top of my game. I've been out of industry for quite a while since I've been teaching. But finding qualified instructors to come in to do this, again, this is a great business to be in. A technician making $100,000+ a year, what a great living. Doing something you love, right? It's hard to get an instructor or get someone who's making that kind of money and supporting their family and making their best life to come in to a teaching role where you're going to make less money, and in all honesty, your stress level's going to go up.
Yeah.
It's true. And finding the people to come in and do the teaching, I think that's going to be our biggest challenge moving forward, because you got to be the right person. You can be the greatest tech in the world. You can be the greatest teacher in the world. I am neither. I happen to be able to bring the two things together, I think, and I can connect with my kids. So finding those people that want to selflessly give their skill to someone, that's going to be the biggest challenge.
We've kind of talked a bit about the, I guess, problems there for the industry, but what would you say so far automotive educators are doing right?
I think that there's a huge group of folks that I know, and Tomorrow's Tech magazine has really helped bring a lot of the educators together. People I would have never known, I now get to regularly. Bob Mauger out in Corona, California, I got to go out and visit him, and I would have never known Bobby. And talk about an amazing instructor. I steal every idea from him I can. And there are other folks that were able to communicate. Ego is off the table. If I have a good idea, I want them to use it. And I think the world, the people in education, getting together, social media, and seeing what we're doing, I think we're able to share best practices, and that's the coolest part of this, is meeting folks who love doing what I do and sharing that with them. I think that's something we're doing right.
Yeah, I really like that, because, for all the, you could say, evils of social media, that's one of the good parts there, is it brings people together, and especially with education, that's often such a localized environment. As you said, you would probably never know these educators in California or wherever. Right. But now you have that ability, and you can, exchange these ideas.
And that's like with Project Maui. I would have never known this person had it not been for social media. These other instructors, and what a tragedy would that have been, not to see what's going on with all these other programs and get to see what they're doing, and wow, that's a great idea. Why didn't I think of that? It's just really cool.
That's awesome. It's great to hear that, but as you said, automotive education is kind of lagging behind where technology is, and it is what it is. But so are you actively working on any way to perhaps mitigate that?
I am. Funny you should ask. So my director, Christy Collins, wonderful director of college and career programs, approached me last year, and she said, Jack, there's a group of folks that are getting together in Jefferson City, Missouri, which is our state capital, and it's automotive educators, industry people, and ASE, Automotive Service Excellence, was taking part in it. And what we have said as educators for a long time is the standards by which the state judges what we do, it's so far behind. And we really need to bring that up to speed. So I was asked to be in this group talking about what is it we really need to teach? What is it we need to maybe drop off the list? And we're making some progress on that. And it's a statewide thing that we're working on now. But and I think it's very promising, because, again, to get somebody to step in from modern industry to look at the standards that we have, I think that could be intimidating to recruit them in. So, yeah, I think that's really important, and I'm really happy to be a part of that.
So I think it's true, not just in, automotive education, but any educational institution where programs often, lag behind the real world, so to speak, because technology, especially nowadays, technology just keeps advancing every year there. So, you know, I think it's difficult for many graduates to go out into the workforce. They're thinking they're prepared, but then employers are looking at them going, you don't have the skills that we need. You know, so how, you know, and then obviously the kids get discouraged from.
Right. And that's huge. It's, again, going back to my advisory board, my program is driven by my advisory board because they have to be my eyes and ears and feet on the ground of what's going on. And something that's come up over the last few years that it's always a hot topic, and I've really tried to address, is reading a wiring schematic. It's something that's becoming kind of a lost art of how a schematic works and so on. So finding those things out, I can really hone in, and when I bring wiring jobs in, I'll purposefully bring those in, and I'll make them draw out, color code the schematic that they're working on. Hopefully that's a technique that they can use, but I think we really have to be mindful of those skills that are really needed out there and push on the basics of those. So once they get there, they can build on that.
Of course, one way that Jack tries to help his students understand the current landscape of the industry is by bringing them to such events as the SEMA show. This type of experience also reinforces for the kids that they want to be a part of the automotive repair industry, which is great because given the technician shortage and aging workforce, everyone knows just how critical it is to attract youth workers. Luckily for Jack, finding students interested in this field doesn't seem to be a problem. We often talk about the technician shortage, and you know, you're working with these kids who are interested in, you know, automotive maintenance and repair. How do you get them interested, or you know, do they just come into the program wanting to learn, or do you have to recruit them? And you know, how do you kind of make sure they go on into that field and don't, you know, change
Great
around?
Question. So again, I tell this to everybody, I'm the most blessed teacher on the planet. In my school district, which we're a large school district, North Kansas City Schools, there are 4 high schools in my school district. I'm in an off-site location. My building is set up, it's the shop, and so I will go to the 4 high schools and recruit. I only take 16 to 18 new students a year, so it's a 2-year program. Juniors, then they will go into my senior program as completers. It's competitive to get into my program, which is a wonderful thing. So they have to fill out applications. They have to shadow for a day to see that it's not a hobby shop. I give 18 college credits with this. The district pays for those credits, and that gets them well on their way through that 2-year degree. All that in mind, I've got a saying on my wall: everything's fun for 10 minutes, and then it becomes work.
Yeah.
I need them to understand, again, not a hobby shop. I've got 2 years, which is nothing, to get the 8 areas of ASE covered. And so the students that come down to me, they have to fulfill attendance. It's huge, they gotta be there. I'm not as worried about the GPA, because if that was a criteria, I would have not made it in probably. But they have to be able to complete. They have to be on track to graduate. Just things like that. That's what I'm looking for. I have a point system that I use, and my highest point scorers are the ones that I invite down. As a matter of fact, it was just this week I sent letters of acceptance out, and it's exciting because I'm seeing the response. Thank you, I can't wait for next year. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so, we've talked about attracting the students in, and earlier we spoke about, how it's difficult. There's a teacher shortage too. It's going to be difficult to get them in. What do you think it's going to have to take to attract more teachers into these positions?
The burden can't fall all on school districts and schools. I think industry is really going to need to, if they're serious about what they're saying, the technician shortage, which everybody knows there's a technician shortage. When they're calling saying, hey, we need your best, well, they're going to have to put some skin in the game to help the program. And it's not always financial, but they're going to have more in this to help the instructor to be able to do their job at a higher level, to recruit those higher level students. And I think industry is really going to have to step in and in some ways supplement what's going on to help those instructors.
Okay. So speaking of industry, do you think, like the equipment companies or anything like that, do they have a role to play in this? Like, do we need to be supplying schools with better, more modern equipment?
So, a lot of the companies are already doing this. I have a lot of Hunter equipment in my shop, and Hunter works with schools to get them this fantastic equipment. There's a company that approached me a few years ago called TechMetric, and they are a databasing system, because that's something very difficult for an automotive instructor. You still have to run your tickets with your parts, and the students fill these tickets out. This group has worked with me so much, and it's really cool because I've been able to share this with other instructors. It's free to schools. Now, of course, if you're a industry professional running a shop, you would pay for this type thing. But what they did for me, for my ASE tasks, because I have to track everything that the students do, I've been able to develop in there a system that as the student fills out, let's say they're working on brakes, they can check off which task that they've completed during this job to fulfill that. So TechMetric helped me build that. They've shared it with other schools. So there's a lot of companies out there that really do step up and help the schools in that way.
All right, that's fantastic to hear. So what do you think the future of automotive education looks like?
It's bright. It is. There's such a need for what we're doing that the opportunities for students, they're there. Big job for instructors and administrators conveying that need. But more importantly, instead of just saying, oh, you can go get a great job, they also have to say, but you're going to have to work to get there. A student can say, I want to be a great technician, and over here can be great technician, but there's a whole lot of work to get here. And every day is precious time. And again, kids are kids, but you have to get them to invest in that future. So that's going to be huge, is bridging that gap for students to understand how much effort it takes to get into this killer income job.
Academia has a reputation for being caught up in its own little bubble, lagging behind what's taught or used for work in the real world. Being an educator is demanding enough, so it makes sense that teachers don't have much bandwidth to revamp lesson plans year after year. But for Jack Stow, that's not enough. His goal is not only to advance his students' knowledge every day, but also to update automotive education standards in the state of Missouri to keep pace with a fast-moving industry. It's this quality of wanting to show others the way forward that makes him a vehicle care rock star.
So